It seems that almost every week there's another company or government body that falls victim to a hacker. Many of these attacks originate in the Eastern Bloc countries and Asia, but they can originate from anywhere on the globe. A report from the Center for Strategic and International Studies states that cybercrime costs the global economy about $445 billion every year, and it's going up. As we become more dependent on technology and the internet for everything from tracking our workout to running our home appliances to transferring money from bank to bank, the more we open ourselves up to hackers stealing our money, identities, and our privacy. How did we get to this point? And what can we do to stem the tide of cybercrime? Mark Goodman has studied the problem as a former law enforcement officer and academic. He's also the author of the book Future Crimes: Everything is Connected, Everyone is Vulnerable, and What We Can Do About It. He says that today's cybercrime is different than it was even 10 or 15 years ago.
Many of the hackers that were launching computer viruses back in those early days, certainly 15 or 20 years ago, were doing it for what they call the lulz, the L-U-L-Z, for the fun of it, just to see if they could get the computer to do something that they wanted that it wasn't supposed to do. And they were mostly younger people who had some stronger scientific backgrounds. The big change today is that the clear motivation for most hacks is financial, with some of it being political or espionage, but there's a heavy financial component. And it's no longer sort of young kids hacking their mom's basement. According to a study by the Rand Institute, a full 80% of criminal hackers are associated with an organized crime group, and the average age of these cyber criminals is 35.
Goodman says that many of those crime syndicates are from the former Soviet Union, a place that grew into a haven for smart, tech-savvy criminals after the Berlin Wall fell.
So if you go back to the fall of the Soviet Union, the Soviets were quite good at training their citizens in math and science, engineering. Many Soviets with PhDs, when the wall fell, suddenly found that they were out of employment opportunities because the government that was paying their salaries kind of went away. So they turned to alternatives, and what they started to do was many of these very clever, very smart people found other opportunities in crime. As to why there is this large proliferation of crime from the Eastern Bloc, one of the big reasons is that the rule of law there is much lower than it is in the United States and other European nations, so that the cops often are in cahoots with the criminals or on the payroll of the criminals, and that there's very little opportunity to extradite folks. So the internet sort of broke international law.
There are laws that cross borders, but unfortunately not everyone signs on to uphold them. Adam Rouse is a legal fellow for the Institute for Science, Law, and Technology at IIT Chicago Kent College of Law. He says that it's very difficult to find the hackers, and once you do, good luck prosecuting them.
There is a convention, a treaty that was signed not too long ago, the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. The EU was involved in helping to draft it. The United States helped to draft some sections of it. And it's really the strongest and the only international treaty in terms of providing for international police agencies to cooperate to track down and arrest cyber criminals, extradite them back to the country where the attack took place. But outside of that, if the hacker's sitting in China or Belarus or a country that hasn't signed on to the convention, there's not a whole lot that our law enforcement can do. It really becomes a diplomatic issue at that point. And, the State Department could go to the embassy or go to the ambassador and ask to extradite these criminals. But besides asking politely, we don't have a lot of recourse once the actual crime takes place outside of our borders.
Not all cybercrime is perpetrated by techies from the Eastern Bloc. In fact, Goodman says that you can go to school to learn how to hack, and even find software to help you get the job done from what he calls Crime University.
All the information you need to get involved in these crimes is widely available on the net. So there are YouTube videos that teach people how to hack, how to do denial of service attacks. You can freely buy the software that will infect somebody's computer, infect somebody's mobile phone. So there's a full crime university that people who want to learn more about this can go out there and do it, and it's very difficult to take that data down.
Hackers are also not just invading big box stores, investment houses, and banks. They're also finding ways to invade your home through your computer, Wi-Fi boxes, even baby monitors.
A baby monitor is just a small computer. Some of them are audio only, but today many of them contain video images, and they can be turned on remotely. And so can the cameras on your laptop or on your mobile phone. And the hackers have a way of turning them on, so you don't even see the little green light or the little red light on the computer. So in the case of baby monitors, of course, they can listen in your house. So now you've got sort of a wireless spy inside your own home that neighbors can pick up. But there have been other examples where, for example, a woman may be in her infant's bedroom breastfeeding the child, and those images have leaked out over the baby monitor and been posted online. And there was a case, I believe it was in Ohio, where a couple of parents were sleeping, and at 3 o'clock in the morning they heard what they thought was an intruder in their house screaming, wake up, Jessica, wake up, I'm going to kill you." And of course the parents ran to their infant daughter's bedroom. Her name was Jessica, and there was somebody on a video camera who, when the parents walked in there, turned the video camera, started looking at the parents and yelling at them. And they knew that the girl's name was Jessica because the parents had written it over the crib. So this was just some creep for the lulz, for the fun of it, who decided to, come into their bedroom and wake up their baby yelling profanity at it in the middle of the night.
They can also control your home appliances if they're on a remote access app on your phone or laptop. Imagine coming home and finding your refrigerator turned off, your faucets all running, the television blaring, and your burglar alarm system deactivated. It's like a home invasion. Only when you call the police, Rouse says there's a good chance they won't be able to do much.
If you do call the police, will they have the technological means and ability to track down the vandal or the perpetrator? And odds are, if it's your local police department, probably not. And certainly calling the FBI for that sort of thing, while they're mandated to investigate internet crime and cybercrime, it's a lot of departmental resources for someone who simply turns your refrigerator on and off.
But what about the baby monitor and the creepy surveillance of your child's room and your home? Can the police do anything to stop that kind of home invasion? Rouse says it depends on the state.
Some states have recognized the problem of kind of voyeurism, and digital voyeurism isn't any different in terms of the peeping Tom. Just instead of the guy creeping around at the window, it's someone creeping around on the internet trying to achieve the same thing. So some states have caught up at least a little bit, and there's invasion of privacy claims you could make, saying where someone has invaded the privacy and the sanctity of your home. But other states, there's still a monetary requirement, which is, it's a very difficult obstacle to overcome when the only thing that's really happening is that snooping, that peeping, because how do you put a price on that? And unfortunately, the law doesn't.
Unfortunately, technology outpaces government's ability to create laws and regulations governing it. But as with most crimes, prevention is still better than calling the police after the fact. Goodman says that we need to push for more security from the top of government to our own homes.
Better, more secure technology, Manhattan Project for cybersecurity. I talked about creating a World Health Organization for cyber, and I think that if we make some of those steps, we can actually make the world much more cyber secure, right? We've faced really tough challenges in the past. President Kennedy in the 1960s said, by the end of this decade, we're going to put a man on the moon. So if we can put a man on the moon, surely we can figure this out. In the meantime, until we get to that better technological future, there are specific steps that I have listed in the book. I created something called the Update Protocol, which are 6 steps that folks can take involving encryption, passwords, and the like. And the research that I did for that was based upon a study completed by the Australian Ministry of Defense, and they analyzed tens of thousands of hacks. And they said that if you follow the 6 steps that I've outlined in the Update Protocol, then you can reduce your cyber risk by 85%.
Goodman adds that listeners can find an infographic of those protocols at the website futurecrimes.com. Rouse says that if he were in charge of cyber law enforcement, one thing he'd do is make companies whose computers are hacked and whose customers' data is compromised more accountable.
If you allow yourself to be breached by these known vulnerabilities, and I think each time in the media it comes out that what was happening to these companies was known about in the IT field before the hacks occurred. And the company should be responsible for, and by responsible I mean more than just the court of public opinion, and whether it's fines that they have to pay to the FTC or fines that would have to go into, say, a general fund that then people could draw off of if their identity was stolen as a result of the breach. So at least, the people could have some help in recovering their identities, and maybe it would give the companies pause and make them think twice, and perhaps even incentivize them to spend a little bit more money on data security, to take it seriously.
You can read up on all of the cybercrime nightmares and some solutions to stay safer in Mark Goodman's book, Future Crimes, available in stores and online. You can also find some tips on staying safe and maintaining your privacy on his site, futurecrimes.com. To find out more about Adam Rouse's work at the Institute for Science, Law, and Technology at Chicago-Kent College of Law, visit their site at kentlaw.iit.edu and click on Institutes and Centers. For more information about all of our guests, visit our site at viewpointsonline.net. I'm Gary Price.
The growing Alzheimer's disease crisis is straining the American economy. According to the Alzheimer's Association 2015 Alzheimer's Disease Facts and Figures report, total payments for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other dementias will reach $226 billion this year. By the year 2050, it will top $1 trillion in today's dollars. Robert Agee, Chief Policy Officer for the Alzheimer's Association.
Alzheimer's is the most expensive disease in the nation. Nearly 1 in 5 Medicare dollars is spent on people with Alzheimer's and other dementias. By 2050, it's going to be nearly 1 in every 3 Medicare dollars. And so we have to change this current trajectory of Alzheimer's disease. And to do that, our scientists need consistent and meaningful support for research from the federal government.
The Alzheimer's Association says the U.S. could save $220 billion within 5 years of a treatment that delays the onset of Alzheimer's being discovered. Find out more about the 2015 Facts and Figures report at alz.org.
Endurance athletes from all over America are fueling up with Idaho potatoes to raise money that can literally save lives. These athletes are all members of Rods Racing, racing for orphans with Down syndrome, dedicated to helping children with Down syndrome in other countries find a home in the United States. The founder of Rods Racing is Brady Murray.
My son Nash, who has Down syndrome, is one of my greatest blessings. But in other countries, these children are often institutionalized and never receive the care and love they need to reach their potential. With the help of our biggest sponsor, the Idaho Potato Commission, Rods Racing athletes raise money to help these kids find a home in the United States by easing the $30,000 to $40,000 cost of adopting a child with Down syndrome.
You've seen the Rods Racing team sponsoring the Ironman World Championship in Hawaii. Every athlete from 5K to Ironman can be a hero that helps bring an orphan child home. Join us at rodsracing.org. That's rodsracing.org.
The results are in. For the treatment of nasal allergy symptoms, nothing is more effective than Nasacort. Nasacort Allergy 24-Hour is prescription-strength medicine that's scent and alcohol-free with no harsh taste. It's non-addictive and provides 24-hour relief of the worst nasal allergy symptoms, including congestion, with no prescription needed. And in a recent clinical study with Nasacort going nose-to-nose with Flonase, more people prefer Nasacort. For more information, visit nasacort.com. Nasacort. Use as directed.